Okay, this is Thursday morning, and this is our mentoring session with Mr. Borden. And we reviewed everything together, and now we're just going to have our feedback time. So let's begin.
All right, so yes, this is Mr. Borden, and so I'm going to go through the rubric that was provided. I've looked at Mr. Litweiler's reflection. I've looked at his lesson plan and just have a few suggestions. But to go with the rubric, the very first one, it says, did the candidate collaborate effectively with families and others? So I'm going to rate Mr. Litweiler in that area a basic for right now. During the lesson, he did touch base on wanting his students to go home and talk about some of the things they went through. Ask them some questions a little bit pertaining to the lesson. One suggestion that I would have is just after watching the training is to next time when we meet again to just bring me any kind of information that you use log-wise to communicate with the parents. The training did say that there are going to be some instances with the rubric that the lesson's not going to really address it, but if you could just show me that you are doing those things, then I can rate it whether it be higher or lower. So that would help. So I'm going to go ahead and rate him a basic in that area. I really like, though, how he did get interaction. Another thing that I suggested was maybe to give his own experiences on what motivated him, almost doing a modeling type aspect for the students. Going on to the next one, did the candidate use developmentally appropriate instructions? And he did. I believe that he did. I'm going to rate him here at the proficient in this area because he walked around the room, he engaged every student. He actually let them not only discuss, but he also had them do some hands-on where then he further explained to them what the lesson was going to be about, what they were going to do. In the end, just again, another suggestion that I gave Mr. Litweiler was to possibly include in his lesson plan what he is going to do for those students who, after he analyzes all the data, if they don't meet the mastery that is necessary. Again, in this area, readiness for learning, I'm going to rate Mr. Litweiler a 2, only because I didn't see in the lesson what he was going to do, how he was going to move them to a higher level. And another suggestion, once again, is to just maybe include that into the lesson plan, do a little bit more questioning, ask the kids some whys, ask them what some of their personal experiences were in relation to the lesson. And I believe I gave Mr. Litweiler a 3. I believe he is meeting all of their social, emotional, and physical needs just because of a survey that he took with them at the beginning. And then again, to include their family, he did actually, relate to their cognitive, where he was letting them use maybe some of their experiences. He could, again, maybe since this lesson was talking about ice melting and so forth, ask the kids, maybe have any of you ever been to the snow, and have you ever seen it on the sidewalk, and what did you notice? And that would draw in some of their experiences. He did have them writing in a book, okay, which is again, some learners, they're better at writing things down. So he did include everything in this area. So I did mark him a proficient in this area. And again, I'm going to rate Mr. Litweiler too, a basic here in this area, did the candidate demonstrate an understanding of the learning. There were a couple times where the class seemed to get a little bit loud. I think maybe just a little bit, maybe drawing them back in. Some things that I use sometimes are just like eyes on me, you know, to get everyone quiet, get everybody back on task. And then again, just to include a little bit more detail in the lesson plan on how he's going to move the kids, how is he going to get them to collaborate. Maybe even when he gets into the further into the experiment, start developing more like teams and giving them jobs. So maybe one person he goes and collects the stuff, and then another person what he does he's the one who writes everything down, and then maybe at the end have each group then have a person who is going to relate all their findings and what they've experienced in front of the class, giving each person an opportunity in that lesson. I like the lesson overall. I always like lessons that have hands-on activities. They did have papers, you know, the organizers and data to fill, so I think it was a very good lesson, and I'm excited to see his next lesson. So,
Okay.
Do you have any questions, or is there anything like in your class that you would think of that you might need some help with, you know, with kids? Maybe you have that one child who is really disrupting the class all the time. Anything I could do to help you in that area?
Not yet, not yet. Like I described, because I have the luxury of having 3 different sections,
Yes.
I can choose which one I want to videotape.
Right.
And obviously, I mean, just with my confidence level being higher, it's going to be with those that are showing me historically that they can give me their best behavior.
Okay.
So
Right.
with those particular classes in mind, with both 7th and 8th grade, I do, let that serve as my videotaping session.
Awesome.
So no, anyone really sticking out in a negative in that regard,
Okay.
that's not the case.
All righty. Good.
So,
So just know if anything you ever need, just remember I'm here. I'm that sounding board. And
okay.
good job.
And also, I guess I just wanted to comment, on this standard student development. To me, it was kind of hard to convey accurately what I think the skills that I have based on seriously 25 years worth of interaction with teenagers,
Yes.
with families when I worked as a professional counselor, other work environments that I've worked in beside the school system. How do I summarize that in a 20-minute video?
Absolutely.
And you and I have talked about that,
Yes.
but I just wanted to convey that. But I think for this week, for student development, I mean, I know what it takes for a kid to properly develop,
Right.
all right, and set them on a proper path for high school and then beyond high school. That's a mentality of how I look at my lessons and how I present myself to my kids. I want their development to happen. I want their maturity to happen.
Yeah.
I talk about that a lot, especially with 8th graders, as close
Absolutely.
as they're getting to high school. That maturity level has just got to be there. They can't
Yes.
turn on a switch.
Absolutely.
So I'm working with them socially, emotionally, as best as I can, to let that grow with them. So doing it through these lessons is something I'm going to be aware of from here on out.
Okay.
So
Right.
anyway, I appreciate your time, and I'll conclude
Absolutely.
for this week. Thank you.